Raza Meets King, written by Subhadra and Gupta, illustrated by Tapas Guha and published by Pratham books. It was a very special day, and so Raza was wearing his best clothes. Today he was going to meet someone very important. His Majesty Jalaluddin Akbar, the great Mughal king. Raza's father, Rahmat Khan, was an important man too. He was the royal tailor to the king, and he stitched all the angrakhas, the loose coats that the king wore over his tight chudidar pajamas. This morning they were going to the palace in Fatehpur Sikri with the angrakhas the king had ordered for the summer. The king was very fussy about his clothes, and it was very hard to please him. Rahmat Khan had worked hard to make the angrakhas, cutting and stitching late into the night. Raza had helped too, putting in tiny stitches using the finest needle and the best silken thread. The spring sun shone brightly. The flowers smiled and the pigeons cooed happily as the two of them walked to the fortress of Fatehpur Sikri. Two soldiers holding spears stood guarding the gate. "I am Rahmat Khan," Raza's father said. "I am the angrakha maker to His Majesty, and I bought new sets for him." "Is His Majesty expecting you?" The guard with the big moustaches frowned. "Ji Huzur, he chose the designs himself." "Wait here." The guard turned to go inside. "I'll call the royal steward." After a while, the guard returned with another man. Rahmat Khan bowed to him. "I've brought the summer clothes, Dhaniji," he said. "Good, come with me. His Majesty is still in his sleeping chamber. He'll see you before he leaves for the royal court." As they walked in, Raza whispered, "Who is he, Abbu?" "Dhani Singh. He works in the Khwabgah." "Khwabgah?" "The king's personal palace, where he has his sitting room and bedroom." It was a long walk. Raza looked around, his eyes wide with wonder. The Mughal palaces were so beautiful, all made of red sandstone with slim carved pillars and curving arches. In between were gardens filled with flowers, lily pools, and sparkling fountains. Raza thought he was in heaven. As they waited at the door of the king's bedroom, Raza studied Dhani Singh. Being a tailor's son, he noticed the clothes first. Dhani Singh was wearing a cotton angarakha in a red and white flowery print over white chudidars. His Nagra shoes had pointed toes that curved inwards. He had tied a narrow cloth belt, a patka, at his waist. What Raza liked most was his bright red turban, printed with a design in white and yellow squares and dots. "Your turban is very nice, Dhaniji," he said. "That's a really pretty design." "Thank you. I come from the land of Rajputs, and this design, called Bandhani, is from my homeland." As they entered the room, Raza's heart was thudding. Sunlight poured in through the arched doorways, lighting up the thick silken Persian carpet woven in jeweled colors. The room was furnished with beautifully carved bed and exquisite chairs. There were silk and gold cushions on the low bed. Even the curtains were made of silk. Raza bowed and looked at his king. Akbar was choosing jewelry from a box. held before him by a servant. He was not very tall, but he had broad shoulders of a sword fighter. He had large, slightly slanted eyes, a drooping moustache, and a small mole over his lips. Hearing them enter, Akbar turned and smiled. "Ah, Rahmat, you've brought the young Rakhas. And who is this boy with you?"
"My son Raza, Huzur."
"And can you stitch too, Raza?"
"I'm learning, Huzur," Raza replied nervously. "But I still make mistakes in cutting the cloth."
"You will learn. Your father will teach you," Akbar said gently. Rahmat opened the bundle and laid out the young Rakhas on the bed. They were made of the finest muslin and covered with delicate embroidery. All of them were in light, summery colors: cream, lemon, pale blue, green, and a sparkling white. Raza knew the king's favorite color was white. Rahmat helped Akbar put on a white angrakha. Then Dhani Singh brought a large mirror and held it before the king. "I like the embroidery and it fits well too," Akbar said, looking pleased. "Now tie a patka. Let's see how it looks." Rahmat took out a handful of belts and tied a light blue one around Akbar's waist, letting the fringed ends hang in front. "No," said Akbar moodily. "This is too pale. I want something brighter." Raza and his father then tied one patka after another, green and yellow, orange and purple, but nothing pleased Akbar. "I don't like any of the colors, Rahmat," Akbar said, frowning impatiently. Raza saw that his father was beginning to look worried. Oh no! If His Majesty did not like the patkas, would he send all the clothes back? "I have to do something fast," Raza thought. He looked around and suddenly, "Huzur, would you like to try a bright red one with a white and yellow design?" "What kind of red?" Akbar boomed. "Show me." Raza pointed to Dhani Singh's turban. "That red." Akbar stared thoughtfully at Dhani Singh's moustached face and said, "Let me give it a try." In a flash, Raza had taken off Dhani Singh's turban, unrolled it, tied it around Akbar's waist. He waited with bated breath while Akbar studied his reflection in the mirror. He noticed Dhani Singh grinning widely. He must have been amused to see the king wearing his turban as a belt. "I like the color and a new design too," Akbar said finally. "Bandhani, Huzur, from the land of the Rajputs," said Raza promptly. "Aha! Rajput, like my queen, Jodhbai." Akbar began to smile. "Dhani, pay Rahmat for the young Rakhas and Patkas. I'll take them all." "Huzur," asked Raza cautiously, "Dhani ji needs a turban. We've taken the one he was wearing." "Give him a patka," laughed Akbar. "That boring pale blue one. I'll keep his turban."